Good day everyone, welcome to example number 6 of week 7. So this is creating a part using revolve. So it's a chess piece, it's a castle, quite an easy piece to create. You just draw one of the sides and revolve it about the z-axis. We have some detailed views, so detail A just gives us the radius of that part there and also the height of that, and then also detail B gives us the radius of that curve there and the height of that. So yes, I'm going to create this inside NX. So I'm just going to start my sketch on the correct plane. So once again, important to note, where is that sketch origin? So it's at the bottom of the sketch, in the center of this piece, if you look from the top view as well. So I'm going to start my sketch on the front view. Okay, so it's quite easy. You just sketch the right part. You don't sketch the entire thing because then you won't be able to revolve it. So you only sketch the right side. You'll see that there's some features on the top which you cannot create using revolves. So I'm only going to sketch up until that height there, and then I'm going to add those features at the end. So I'm going to start by adding this line here, which needs to be 60 millimeters. So that's 60 millimeters. And then that arc of the radius 5, so I'm going to use arc by 3 points. From that point there, my radius is 5, and it's something like that. But now you have that height specified for you, which is 4.7. So and that's from the bottom to the top. So I'm just going to insert that rapid dimension there. From there to there, it's 4.7. Okay, now you'll see there's also still one auto dimension because the center of this thing is not specified. And now we need to determine how that curve is specified. So I'm first going to leave it like that and see if it doesn't specify when I add the other curves. So I'm not going to specify it now. I think it's going to be specified as I go on with the sketch. So the next curve is that curve of radius 17.5. So once again, arc by 3 points, 17.5. It's something like that. Not like that. Let's just undo. 17.5. Okay. So that's the only curve there. The height from the bottom to the top of that curve needs to be 25. So I'm going to specify that from that point up until this point needs to be 25. Okay, so this one is also not specified, the center point of this arc, so I'm just going to drag it and see if it gets specified later. So there you can see. So now we have that point needs to be 48.5 from the sketch origin. So that will specify this curve. So that distance needs to be 48.5. So now there's still one auto dimension, which is this one, and that will, we'll see if that gets specified as I go on. So next is a radius of 80. Just want to see there's a dimension added there of 40 millimeters. I'm not sure where it needs to go. Okay, let's just continue for now. So 80 millimeters. So once again, arc by 3 points. And it's something like that. So now let's specify that arc. So it's given that the top end there is 50 millimeters from the bottom. So that point and that point needs to be, what's it, 50? Yeah, 50 millimeters. Okay, that's quite easy. There isn't a distance, horizontal distance specified for that one. I think that dimension is there, but I'm not sure. Or it's the center point of, let me see, of this curve. Yeah. So you'll see there's a center point, or there's a point there, and that point is 40 millimeters from the sketch origin. So that will specify that curve. So this center point is 40 millimeters uh, from that point. So let's just specify that. Okay, so now that curve is also specified. So we have one auto dimension, and that's this curve that can still move like this, but this will also be defined. So then we have a vertical, yeah, it's diagonal line going upwards, and the endpoint of that is 155 millimeters from the bottom. So I'm just gonna put it there, okay, and then I'm gonna specify it. So that point is 155. Okay, so that's quite easy. This dimension, so it can still move about the horizontal axis, and that can be defined by that 30 millimeters. So adding that 30. Okay, now that's specified. So now the only thing is this line, and um, I'm assuming, I'm not sure if the note is not added here, but that line seems to be tangent on one another. But before I assume that, I'm just going to finish the entire sketch and see if it gets constrained. Okay, so the next one is that small horizontal line. It's 5 millimeters. So from there, 5 millimeters. Then we have the radius of 5. Like that, and then we have we know that this height is also 5. Okay, so now that's specified. There's an auto dimension there, which can be removed by using a geometric constraint, and that's the correct way of doing that. So then we can add in that vertical line going up, so it's 30 millimeters. So let's add that 30 going upwards, and then once again we need to close. So for a revolve, you need to close this entire um, sketch. You cannot just create this outer line and then try to revolve. It needs to be a closed curve. So this line goes back to the sketch origin. So I'm just going to vertically align that with the sketch origin, and then we have a line to close the curve from that point down to the sketch origin. Okay, so now my sketch is constrained with one auto dimension, and that auto dimension is this line that can still move, and that, so yeah, there's a angle there that needs to be specified, or a geometric constraint needs to be added. Okay, so let's just make sure that all the dimensions that's given to us are provided. So that's also, then that needs to be a tangent constraint. So between that curve there and this curve here, there needs to be a tangent constraint. Okay, so then that fully constrains the sketch. So that's the castle. So you create this one side, and then your revolve feature is quite easy. You select this curve, so you select the revolve feature. Your curve is that curve, so it's only half of your sketch. My vector will be, so this is quite confusing, but this is the vertical axis. If you highlight it or you hover over it, it will also tell you which axis it is. So this is the z-axis going upwards. That's the negative x-axis, positive x-axis, positive y, negative z. So I want to use either the z or the negative z axis because I'm going to revolve about that point. So it's gonna yeah, go around that point. So it's that vector, and my point, since my sketch origin is in the middle, I'll use that. So you want to use a point which is in the middle of your sketch, so that your vector, so that vector that you've specified goes through that point. So you cannot specify that point, for instance. You can, but it will not create the correct sketch. So let's see what happens. Okay, unable to create revolve. So my point is not correct. I'm going to use my sketch origin. Okay, so there it revolves about that point and that vector. Can click OK, and there I have my castle. So let's just remove that sketch. So that's quite easy. And now to add in that features, there is the dimensions of that. So I'm just going to create a sketch on the top view. So on the top view, there's two circles, so radius 40 and radius 30. So I'm just going to create those two circles. So first one is radius 40, meaning that's diameter 80, and then I also have a diameter of 60, also on the sketch origin. Okay, then I have two lines between those two, so we add an angle of 20 degrees. So let's just add in, so it wants to create a tangent line now, so I'm just gonna, not like that, just gonna create two lines there. To get it to the other circle, I'm just gonna extend it. I showed you in class that I typically do this if I want to extend something onto a curve. Um, we know that this distance, so that distance, that horizontal distance needs to be 5 millimeters. So from that point up until the sketch origin is 5. Same for the other side, so I'm just gonna change that dimension. Okay, so then we also have that this angle, so the angle between that line and that needs to be 20. Let's just see. Okay, I'm just gonna change it to angular dimension. So between that line and this line, that needs to be 20. Let's just see what's the problem. I'm not sure why it's giving me that problem. Okay, so it's because of that perpendicular constraint that was automatically added there, and then also between that line and the vertical axis, that also needs to be 20. Okay, so now all the dimensions is specified, 5 millimeters, 5 millimeters. So now I'm just going to trim the rest of the circles that I don't need. My sketch is fully constrained, so now I'm just going to use the pattern feature. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. So I'm going to use my pattern feature for this curve. It's going to be a circular. My point of rotation will be my sketch origin. There will be 8, and my span is 360 degrees. So that's quite easy. Sketch is fully constrained, so I'm happy. Finish the sketch. Now I need to extrude it 10 millimeters upwards. So let's extrude that 10 millimeters upwards. Okay. Let's just make sure everything is united. It's one body. Hide that sketch. So there's your castle. So that was quite easy. The sketch origin is at the correct place. Once again, you just assign a material, so aluminium 5086. So tools, materials, assign materials onto that body, aluminium 5086. Just gonna make sure that the material is assigned. So tools, materials, manage materials. There's a check mark to the right of that material, so I'm happy with that. Measure, right click on this body, say select from list solid body of the revolve, and once again we want your surface area, your center of mass, your mass, and your radius of gyration. So that you'll enter for us onto iFundi, and we will mark accordingly. So it's quite an easy part to create. I hope you understand revolves. It's not that difficult to create a revolve. Important to remember, you don't create this entire outline and then try to revolve it. You only create from the point or the vector that you want to revolve about one side, and then you revolve that entire curve about that point. So it goes around the sketch origin or the point you've selected. So for instance, if I've selected the x-axis or as the vector of rotation, it would have rotated around the x-axis, so like that. So that's quite easy. Thank you for watching this video.